Hi, my name's Isaac.
And I'm Tucker.
And this is a 1958 edition Toyota Land Cruiser. And today, I'm gonna review it for you guys. But also, I happen to be driving my brother back to college up here in Washington State. So we're going to do a road trip in this Land Cruiser towards the end of the video. And we're able to give you some pretty thorough driving impressions and really cruise some land.
Heck yeah.
Wow, I am beginning to learn very quickly how scenic Washington State is. As you can see in the intro, we're in this very wooded, mountainous area, and now I'm on this sweet mountaintop. It's really cool. I've already dropped my brother off. We finished our road trip. He's back at college, but as I drive the Land Cruiser back, now is when I'm gonna actually film the video review segment, and then at the end of the video, that's when I'll actually show you guys the road trip and what our initial impressions were of the Land Cruiser when we first started driving it. While we're up front here, this is probably one of the most striking differences on the 1958 edition compared to the regular Land Cruiser. These circular headlights, they have LED daytime running lights built into them. You'll have more of a heritage grille design with the Toyota lettering spelled out, and you still do get some modern safety features here. There are sensors for parking up here and for the radar guided cruise control and the Toyota Safety Sense system. I do think the regular Land Cruiser looks a tad bit sharper than this, personally, if I was going to get one, but I do like the styling. It really has grown on me throughout this week. What do you guys think of the front end? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Are you kind of middling on it? I'd love to know. Moving underneath the hood, this is powered by Toyota's 2.4-liter iForce Max turbocharged four-cylinder, making 326 horsepower and 465 pound-feet of torque, and that is paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission. The EPA estimates this gets 22 city and 25 highway for a combined fuel economy of 23 miles per gallon, though by the end of my testing this week, I had an average of 19 miles per gallon. Moving to the profile of the Land Cruiser, in a sea of off-road oriented SUVs and SUVs that claim they're off-road oriented but are really just an appearance package, I think the Land Cruiser stands out. It has a very unique and pronounced overall profile view, and I think it's very easily identifiable as a Toyota. Starting here with the wheels and tires as we're here on the profile, you'll get fairly pedestrian Yokohama 245/70R tires as your stock set right here around these 18-inch wheels, and you can't really tell because they're pretty dusty, but they're sort of a dark gray metallic black look, and I think that works very well. I don't really think you need larger than 18-inch wheels here, especially if you're gonna get meatier, beefy tires on this thing. Then moving up to the mirror cap, it is black plastic with a turn signal indicator incorporated in. You'll get blind spot monitoring and power adjusting, as well as power folding functionality. Not too bad for a base model, though it is still $60,000. And then moving down here to the door handle, you'll have keyless entry, which is always nice. And then up here, this particular Land Cruiser includes a roof rack, which I unfortunately did not get to use this week, though my brother was moving, so I did help him move some stuff to his new house, and the Land Cruiser fit all that stuff very well. And in case you guys were wondering, if you've been a longtime viewer of the channel, his 2000 Tundra is still kicking. As we move to the rear here, I really like these taillights. I think they are very neat, and I like the Land Cruiser badge and the Toyota Heritage badge you get here. And you'll also have iForce Max spelled out. What I don't particularly like is this gigantic tow hitch cover. It seems kind of dorky in my opinion, though of course you can take it off. You'll also get parking sensors here, a rear recovery hook, and I do like how they have integrated the tow plugs down here. I think that's a neat little detail. You'll get a backup camera on the rear and of course a wiper. I also like this little spoiler lip where the third brake light is. Again, I think it brings the design together. And then you do have the ability to open this in a couple of different ways, but not in the ways that you might think. You may expect me to pull the key fob out and hit a button and open up the rear lift gate, but this doesn't have that, and I'm actually kind of thankful for it. In all of my reviews recently, I've been reviewing these SUVs with lift gates that go up automatically and down automatically, and that's neat for certain instances, but I like to manually lift and lower my lift gates and lower gates. But I think what's cool here is when I say you can open this in a couple of different ways, it has a unique feature you don't see too often anymore. You can hit this button and that's gonna pop open your glass. I know the Tahoe still did this for a while. I'm not sure if the current one does, but some other SUVs include this, but not many. And I think it's awesome. I wish every SUV had this. If I just need to get in here quick to grab something like my Land Cruiser carpet, I want this. You can reach in and grab it. You don't have to open up the entire lift gate. It's a very, very neat design detail. And again, it harkens back to that classic Land Cruiser design. So many SUVs back in the day used to have that as a function or a power down window, but we really don't see that a ton. And so I think that is something I am very grateful for. But then of course, there is a little button in here and you can lift up the rear that way as well. On higher trims, I'm sure it's automatic, but here on the 1958, it's manual. Now, as you step into the rear here, I mean, I'm stepping into the rear here. I'm not actually climbing in, but you know, just forget I said that. As we look at the rear here, you can see there is a pretty high load in height. And that's because, as I mentioned earlier, this is the hybrid. So the battery is underneath here. That is very interesting. You still get a tiny bit of storage. If we move this mat up, there is a little storage area here. And then pulling the mat further towards us, there's another little storage area behind the second row. There's a good deal of space back here, but not a lot underneath. So if you're planning to carry a lot with this, often, that is definitely a consideration. Now, as I said before, I was able to fit a ton of stuff into the back of this SUV when I was helping my brother move, and that really helped him out. And there was nothing we couldn't fit between his truck and this SUV, so that's pretty nice. Now, in the back here, you will get some other niceties like an AC 120 volt outlet. That's great. And then you also do have some little areas over here, like the battery is hidden there. And in here, you have the tire jack. One thing that I think is particularly interesting is that on the Lexus version of this SUV, there is a third row, but here on the Land Cruiser, you don't get that third row. But of course, since they mold the plastic the same way, you still get the cup holders and the USB-Cs back here and the climate vents up top like you had a third row. It's a little disappointing there isn't a third row available because there's absolutely the space for it. Less so, of course, because the hybrid battery is there, but I do wish it had that. Before we step inside, this is the key fob, pretty plain, just lock, unlock, and panic right here. All right, moving to the interior of the 1958 Land Cruiser. I love the Heritage logo right here, and I love these seats. I think the texture of the material is really cool, very retro looking. My brother did not like the design of these. I mean, they were very comfortable, of course, but he just didn't think it looked cool, almost like a seat cover, but I think it looks really neat. But there are a couple ways that you can tell this is a lower trim of the Land Cruiser. For one, you have your infotainment system right here, and you can very, very easily tell this is not the biggest available screen. I don't mind that it's a smaller screen. In fact, I think it's quite quaint. It does Apple CarPlay, all your music, Sirius XM. It's kind of fun that it's this tiny little screen, but you know, you can tell there was a bigger one available, and Toyota didn't do a stellar job of hiding that fact. The other big thing that is a very easy tell that this is a lower trim is that there's so much hard touch plastic. This entire door panel is hard touch plastic. There's not even a soft spot here or down here where you may rest your arm. Now, I ended up resting my arm right here most of the time, and this is kind of the natural spot but it's not very comfortable. Thankfully, the steering wheel is a nice material that is much more comfortable, as is the shifter. And then I believe this armrest is leather or some sort of faux leather. It's very plush and squishy, but a lot of hard touch everywhere you go. And that means it creaks and it rattles a little bit sometimes. And that's just unfortunate. Now, some people might not mind that, but for $60,000, I do wish there was a little bit more attention put into this. I'm sure there is much greater attention to detail on the higher trims, but it would be nice to see here too. Down here, you'll have your mirror controls and your window controls, and then you will have your auto high beams, your rear parking sensors. This controls the brightness of your little gauge cluster screen right here. Then you will get your AC 120 volt outlet in the rear, gas popper, and then trailer brake assist is below that. Then you will have manual adjustments for the tilting and telescoping on the steering wheel. You will have a buttload of buttons on the steering wheel. You'll have Bluetooth, your channel changing, radar guided cruise control. Then these buttons right here control the digital gauge cluster screen. That primarily gives you your trip information, your safety system settings. That is a tongue twister. And your digital speedometer, stuff like that, messages. It's very intuitive, pretty nice, all things considered. Down here, if I spin this, you can see we can go between sport, normal, and eco. If you punch it in sport, nothing crazy changes here on the screen. It just tells you you're in that mode now, though I don't necessarily need it to change. It would just be nice. It's a fairly simplistic screen, and I like that it's incorporated well there. Over here, as I mentioned, you have that mode selector, your push button start. You will have your climate control buttons, which are physical. Yes, you do get heated seats and a heated steering wheel on this particular option. It is really freaking hot outside, so I haven't been using them too much this week, but they are there if you want them. You also have your hazard button right there in between your two climate vents. 2 USB-Cs down here. Actually, I take that back. There's 3 of them. And then I briefly touched on the screen. It's pretty intuitive. It's not slow at all. The only complaint that I have, I'll talk about a little bit later when we get to the driving segment. It has to do with the built-in GPS, not the Apple CarPlay or the Android Auto, but this actual Toyota GPS. It has an interesting quirk that we found out as we were using it this week. And then you also do have some settings you can go through here, general notification, built-in Wi-Fi. And then if I throw this into reverse, you can see there's a decent backup camera. It's not the highest quality. And if I turn the wheel, it does not, unfortunately, turn those lines. Still nice to have, though. It is federally mandated, of course. And then you do get a volume knob, which is always nice to see. It's quaint. For a brand new $60,000 SUV, it's a fairly simplistic interior, all things considered, and I really appreciate that. I want to highlight that it's not like all screen for everything. I do appreciate the simplicity. And then below the mode select, you will have some other buttons right here, DAC, crawl control, your electronic parking brake, your shifter right here, and then you have the rear locker, center locker, traction control off, and your switch for the 4 high and 4 low. You also get some cup holders as well. Then opening up the center console here, you have a nice little storage area, though there isn't any chargers or plugs inside of it. I mentioned these seats are comfortable. They are also fully manually adjusting. And then up here you have an auto dimming mirror, some nice LED lights. Look at that. You just kind of touch right there and it poofs on, which is neat. And then you'll have your emergency SOS, and then just a pretty simple, hello, fold down. Oh, no, it's not simple. This is why I want to talk about this. I was like, why did I fold this down? Because it has an extension right here, which is really cool, and you don't see that a ton on certain vehicles. You'd think that this would be like all over the place, that every vehicle would have this, but not everyone does. So I appreciate that the Land Cruiser does have that on the sun visor. You also get a driver's side grab handle here, which is great. I love the grab handles, and I think it's really cool that it's there. Wow, let's adjust the brightness here so you guys can see a little bit better. See, as soon as I adjust the brightness there, it makes this all dark, but wow, it is just absolutely gorgeous out here. What a view. All right, let's take a look at the back seats. Moving to the rear seats, you get a pretty decent amount of leg room back here. I am 5'9", but I have this seat moved back because I was just doing the filming in the front, and I have probably about 3 or 4 inches, even with the seat moved back. So you probably get closer to 6 or 7 inches. And there is a ton of room back here to definitely fit 3 adults comfortably. You get that cool texture back here. You may also notice these seats are reclined a little bit. That's because there is a pull tab right here to recline the seats, though that's really hard to do with one hand while filming, so I pre-recline them to show you guys. And then this is what it would look like. This is the normal seating position, so you do have a decent amount of recline there. And of course you can pull that tab to fold the seats down if you want as well. So that's neat. You also have some storage in the back here with these pouches. That's nice. Always love to see 2 of those. For some reason, some cars only include 1. I'm baffled. But moving on, you'll also have your own climate controls back here. Land Cruiser is spelled out. Then you'll have 2 USB-Cs and a 12 volt. So some nice amenities back here. You also have a fold down armrest with 2 cup holders. Not a ton of features, but it's definitely a very comfortable experience in the rear seats. All right, we just picked the Land Cruiser up here for the 4.5 hour drive. It says 4 hours and 37 minutes on the GPS. So we will set off, and throughout this video, we'll tell you guys what we think of the driving experience of this Land Cruiser.
Yes, sir.
All right, so we started our journey out of Seattle. But, you know, as I was editing through this footage, I realized we didn't go to the Space Needle. Why didn't we go to the Space Needle?
It's a lot smaller than maybe it's depicted in movies and such.
Oh, and you didn't want me to be disappointed.
Yeah, I'd like to keep the perception of it being huge that you probably generated after watching Sleepless in Seattle with Tom Hanks.
That is actually correct. You're correct. I saw it and I was like, man, that must be massive. I would want to go there. And it's sort of like the Statue of Liberty when we went to the Statue of Liberty. Anyway, so we're on the road, and I've mentioned this a couple times, but I just think it's so cool how scenic it gets with the mountains. Like, have you ever done the Seattle to, I guess in Spokane in this case, drive? Have you done that?
Yeah, I've done it once before. I went with a buddy. We were meeting his family, and we went across to Bainbridge. You get on a little car ferry. It's pretty exciting. And then we were visiting some of his folks. But that was the only time up to this point that I had made that drive.
We've reached this location that we think would be really good for filming, and it is. It's a very, very cool spot. And we shot the intro here, and I think it turned out really good. I was excited about that. Definitely not the most difficult off-road location, but it still has its share of big rocks and big bumps. Like here's a big one that we're gonna come up upon, but it eats it pretty well. I don't need to be in 4-wheel drive to be on this road. It definitely takes it quite well in 2-wheel drive. It's just a different type of terrain compared to the highway driving that we've experienced so far. I think it's handled well. Tucker was driving it for some of this. I think this is the first time that Tucker's driving it, actually.
It's true.
Handles
nice.
Yeah, it handles nice. I think it actually does handle well.
I'm gonna be YouTube famous.
Oh, okay. Is that there's a presumption that this video is gonna do like really well?
So well.
Okay. What are you gonna do with all that YouTube fame?
Probably retire.
Wow. What are you gonna do in retirement?
Probably play pickleball.
It's a lot of pickleball you're gonna be playing. Do you have like that's it? Just like, and you're 21. You're just gonna retire now.
I'll probably eat.
All right, we just made our second stop. We stopped at Carl's Jr.
Junior? Oh, yeah.
And gas at this particular gas station, there's 2 here, because we're in the middle of nowhere, is $4.85 for regular, which is ludicrous, because I assume they're banking on the fact that they're in the boonies. Where are you going to stop for gas otherwise? We're having fun so far. We have hour 40 left on this road trip.
Just about.
Oh, this is big. So because I've been using my phone to record and I ran out of cell service, I don't have the GPS built in because I don't have cell service. And so we're using the Toyota infotainment GPS. And what is the issue that we have discovered?
This GPS wants you to take an hour longer than you need to get to where you want to be.
Yes. So basically what happened is I missed a turn. That's on me. But instead of just rerouting to the next exit on the highway and saying, go this way, it was like, you're basically just going to have to go an extra hour around. But then I closed out of the GPS and reopened it, and it was like, oh yeah, take this turn. And I was like, what? And it's been silly because when we went off the map to go to the last stop where we had the kind of scenic, slightly more off-road oriented kind of trail, in that, it was kind of like a state park sort of road, it did the same thing. It was like, and you were like, oh no, we're like another hour, it's even further. And I was like, no, I think it said we were only such a distance away. And so then I closed the Toyota navigation app again, reopened it, and then it was like, oh, yep, you're back to the time that we originally said. So the actual inbuilt navigation seems to not be great at calibrating a reroute if you miss your turn. And
It's a little confused.
Yeah,
It's a
so
little confused.
I'm sure most people would use Google Maps or Apple Maps on CarPlay, but that's something I definitely wanted to point out that's been a little bit frustrating on the road trip. For the most part, though, great, right? And we were on this highway for like literally 300 miles. So there hasn't been any turns since, and I don't really think there will be after this until we get into Spokane. So, yeah, update number 2. You took over driving, and what did we see? Do you want to recount our exciting story? What did we see on that last leg? Because I think the last leg was probably the most eventful.
It was. It was at sunset, and you could see for miles. It was gorgeous. And another thing that we saw was a car speeding ahead of us, and there was a lane divide, and so there was a cop coming from the other oncoming traffic, and he got into the lane divide to come into our lane, and he gunned it as he swerved around, kicked up a ton of dust, and went after this guy that was speeding right along. And this guy, without the cop turning his lights on at any point in time up to that point, immediately got off on the side of the road, and the cop lit his lights up, and this man knew that his hour had come.
His goose was cooked. It was really funny, and I'm really ticked off. We didn't record it. Obviously, we would show you if we had it on footage. But we had just shot all of this other footage, and we were like, well, what other things are we going to see? So, unfortunately, we didn't get it. But that was like a really fun part of this driving segment. All right, we have almost reached our destination. We are just about at the end of our road trip. Tucker is finishing out the last leg. What did you think? Getting a lot of time behind the wheel of the Land Cruiser today.
It's a fun car. Drives. A lot like a Tacoma.
Okay, so you think, because he's driven my Tacoma, my 3rd gen. Yeah, so it does have a lot of crossover, especially with the 4th gen platform. Makes sense. Anything else you'd like to add? There's a Mavericks. I knew they had Mavericks here. Hey.
I thought you were asking me what I wanted to add.
No, I was, and then I saw Mavericks, and we debated, because in Pennsylvania we have Wawa and Sheetz, which are incredible, and Tucker was saying they don't have anything like this out here, and I said, do they have Mavericks? Because that's like sort of like a Wawa. I mean, it's not. I'm from Pennsylvania, it's not. But it sort of is. Back to
the review.
Back to the question at hand.
Yeah. I don't have any other critiques.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, cool. Well, thank you guys for joining us for this road trip. We really enjoyed filming it. It was really fun to piece this all together. It's a very different type of driving segment. Well, that's just about going to wrap up this review and road trip in the Land Cruiser 1958 edition. It was an absolute treat, and this thing held up very well. And boy, did we cruise some land. I want to thank Toyota for letting me borrow this for the week. It's been an absolute blast. Before I go, I always like to mention that I am a Christian. So if you have any prayer requests, I would love to be able to pray for you. You can leave those in the comment section below. And lastly, I like to close out with a scriptural reading in my videos. This week, I'm in the book of James, chapter 1, verses 2 through 4. Consider it pure joy, my brothers, when you face trials of various kinds. For the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking in anything. All right, guys, I'll see you next time. And remember, no matter what vehicle you drive, I hope it lasts you a long time and it serves you well. I'll see you next time.